uh, the clip talking about the debt, right? That was the very first thing they went into. And then what I noticed most of all was at the beginning, this is what I hate about debates. They pandered so hard on the war on coal, right? That was like both of their talking points. And in terms of the economic portion, I think it was like a very not substantive. It was very unsubstantive in that sense that it was really just a bunch of talking points about Tim Kaine and actually, no, I'm sorry, Mike Pence's Reaganomics. And I think Tim Kaine missed an opportunity, just like Hillary Clinton, to challenge the fundamental assertions or the underlying premise of Reaganomics and everything that Mike Pence was saying, right? He left those premises there as though they were true, that all we have to do is cut taxes and that'll stimulate growth and everything will be fine. And 2 weeks in a row, Tim Kaine nor Hillary Clinton challenged that premise. What did you think about that, Brandon?
Well, I mean, I think that ultimately that's where the debate gets a little bit difficult to get your head around, because neither one really tackled some of the fundamental questions we're going to talk about later that are really in people's minds, which is, what has 30 years of neoliberalism and Reaganomics done for America?
Right.
What has 30 years of, because at a certain point you're talking about not only a Republican president or a Democratic president, you're talking about a Republican president, then a Democratic president, then a Republican president, then a Democratic president. So it becomes hard to condemn the Reaganomics after a certain point, because
everybody's doing it.
It's no longer just Reagan. It's not just Reagan. It's Clintonomics, and then we talk about it, and I don't want to say Obamanomics, but I think that neither candidate has done their best to tackle the structural causes behind any of the problems that we're having, whether we're talking about crime, the economy. I can't think of another.
Everything they did. Terrorism. I mean, the entire nothing tonight really hit on anything substantive. And it, well, you know what? It was, in a way, it's weird, right? Because it was more substantive than Donald Trump's debate, but they were not substantive enough to get to the underlying premises and the underlying arguments and to actually challenge that. They left everything at the standard talking points of their political parties, in my opinion.
I guess, yeah, and I would say what I'm trying to say is that it comes across as a difference of opinion still, as though they are arguing over whether Reaganomics, although I would say Hillary Clinton did a better job of dispelling the idea of trickle-down economics, or at least addressing it in the first debate. The idea that, does Reaganomics work? Does this sort of economic regime or philosophy, you're going to call it, work? And we know the answer is no, but they just can't seem to get beyond this he said, she said way of dealing with the economy.
Yeah, and actually, it's in my opinion, it goes a little bit further. Not only a difference of opinions, like he says, she said in the economy, like you mentioned, but it's also like, we won't even challenge the varying degrees of Reaganomics or our programs, right? So they had they squabbled there for a minute on, are we going to raise taxes? Are we going to lower taxes? Are we going to stimulate growth? Or we're not going to stimulate growth? And then the last one was, are we going to leave debt? Or we're not going to? Or will our tax cuts cause an increase in debt? Or will it cause a decrease in debt? And none of them actually debated the differences. Tim Kaine alluded to it, but he didn't actually show the stark difference in the amount of debt, or the deficit rather, that Trump's economic plan, tax plan, will cause compared to Hillary Clinton's, right? He mentioned it, but he didn't give it any teeth. And so it's like, not only are they just kind of having a difference of opinion on an accepted framework, they're not even going into the legitimate differences between their two disagreements. It's like, all you're saying is our plan is better, and everyone else, Tim Kaine said my plan is better, and Mike Pence said my plan is better, but nobody really outlined in a very clear numerical fashion what the difference is. And the crazy thing about it is it's out there. It's the research is there. The results are there. And if anybody should know it, it should be the president and the vice presidential candidates. But I mean, they just didn't even go there. They just kind of left it hanging. What do you think? What do you think, Hank?
I mean, it's not like you even really have to do a lot of work to debunk Trump's tax plan. I think, what is it, like 4 pages long? I think I read it in like 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it takes no work at all. But I think the issue that somebody like Kaine comes up against is that, you know, he's kind of a new Democrat. As the Republicans ran to the right, the Democrats did as well. I mean, he's not perfect on taxes as well. I think when he was the mayor of Richmond, I think he put in tax holidays and those sorts of things. So I mean, he has dirt on his own case as well. But I think that in areas like this where you know, Democrats are certainly better than Republicans, but the Democrats have their own dirt on them as well. I think that they try to steer away from these sorts of issues as much as they can and keep things at keep it at just a certain level of vagueness that doesn't let them and their own flaws be revealed. I think that's the thing, and I'll toss it to you, Brandon. I think that's the thing is that, you know, there is a measurable difference between Donald Trump's tax plan and Hillary Clinton's tax plan. Hillary Clinton's tax plan is more sustainable and will increase spending in certain areas that will benefit, you know, a portion of America. However, if she digs down to the premise that she's still operating in, then that would prove problematic because it not only undermines Donald Trump, but it would undermine their own framework. And nobody wants to go to the question of why are we so concerned with cutting taxes as a means of stimulating economic growth when we have demonstrated over time that that is not the only way or a consistent way of stimulating economic growth, but still it's a standard talking point and it's a framework that Republicans and Democrats both exist in. And I think that's why, like you said, Hank, I think that's why they would never challenge it. I'll let you get the last word on that section, Brandon.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you laid it out perfectly right there. They're attacking the excesses of the system, which Donald Trump represents very well, the excesses of the neoliberal, neoconservative system. He's the, you know, the neoliberal, neoconservative gone too far. Right. While Hillary Clinton is just promising more of the same. If we just extrapolate this out to talking about just their general views on the economy, a big part of Reaganomics is not just deregulation and, you know, cutting taxes, but it's also re-regulation. It's rigging the system in favor of certain corporations. And if we talk about, you know, Wall Street banks getting TARP bailouts and these sorts of favoritism towards Wall Street, that's going to implicate the Democrats just as much as the Republicans, especially within this current system. Yeah,
absolutely agree. It's the framework that they cannot afford to challenge because it's going to require a fundamental shift. That's the strength, in my opinion, of a Bernie Sanders, right? Bernie Sanders was able to challenge the framework in a very concise manner that would allow people to hear an alternative framing, right? Not completely different, but different enough framing for people to ask the fundamental questions of why have we been doing it the same way for the last 40 years with maybe 5% difference in the tax code. Neither Tim Kaine nor Hillary Clinton were equipped to challenge that frame. And well, you know what? Let me rephrase that. They probably could very well challenge that frame. They just don't want to challenge that frame.